North Korea has fired 2 short-range ballistic missiles off its eastern coast. According to South Korea, the missiles flew cross-country. Japan has said that both missiles landed outside its exclusive economic zone. This was North Korea's 7th missile launch this month. It comes after the US and South Korea completed an 11-day exercise, which was their biggest field training in years. Ukraine has called for an emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council against what it calls Russia's nuclear blackmail. Russian President Vladimir Putin announced that his country would station tactical nuclear arms in Belarus. Putin said that the move is similar to the United States storing its weapons across Belgium, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands and Turkey. Ukraine accused Russia of breaching its obligations and undermining the nuclear disarmament architecture. The European Union's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, has said that the bloc is ready to impose sanctions on Belarus. Minsk will face sanctions if it hosts Russian nuclear missiles. Borrell called this an irresponsible escalation and threat to European security. He said, and I quote, "Belarus can still stop it. It's their choice. Remember, Belarus is a close Russian ally." The International Atomic Energy Agency's head, Rafael Grossi, and his team departed to visit Zaporizhzhia in Ukraine. Zaporizhzhia is home to Europe's largest nuclear power plant. It has 6 reactors which have been under constant shelling over the past months. Grossi has been pressing for a security zone to be built around the nuclear power plant. This will be Grossi's 2nd trip to the region. He visited the plant last year in September and established a permanent presence of IAEA experts. A Ukrainian army drone has shown the condition of Bakhmut. The city is in ruins. Authorities say that the situation there has stabilized. However, the footage shows massive damage in a residential area. Bakhmut has been one of Russia's major targets. Russia is trying to fully capture Ukraine's industrialized Donbas region. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has sacked Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. This comes a day after Gallant broke ranks with the government. He called for a halt to Netanyahu's plan to overhaul the judicial system. Massive protests have broken out after Gallant was fired. Protesters gathered outside Netanyahu's residence in Jerusalem, breaching a security cordon. People in Hong Kong held a protest against a government policy. This was the first protest to take place in Hong Kong in about 2 years. It was held under strict rules, including a cap on numbers. Protesters were required to wear an identifying number tag. Officials closely examined banners and placards for politically sensitive and seditious words. In 2020, China imposed the national security law in Hong Kong. This was done to stamp out dissent. Protests have broken out in Berlin. More than 5,000 workers from public service sectors, including hospitals, railway systems, and postal service, participated. They demanded a hike in their salaries and a reduction in rents. Various workers' unions in Berlin say that soaring inflation has raised the cost of living for most people. Trains, flights, and other transportation systems will be impacted as more strikes are expected. Protests continue in France. This time, it's over the construction of a giant water storage facility. Protesters are calling for the construction to stop. Police clashed with protesters as they tried to stop the water basins from irrigating crops. France has already been witnessing massive protests against the government's proposed pension reforms. Myanmar held a military parade in its capital, Naypyidaw. Hundreds of troops marched to mark the country's annual Armed Forces Day. This was a grand display of weapons which ranged from rocket launchers to tanks. This comes days after the US imposed fresh sanctions against the junta for inflicting, and I quote, "pain and suffering on the people of Burma." The military staged a coup in February 2021. It ousted the democratically elected party under the leadership of Aung San Suu Kyi. Taiwan's Marine Corps personnel lowered the island's flag from the roof of its embassy in the capital of Honduras. This comes as China and Honduras began formal diplomatic relations. Taiwan has accused Beijing of using coercion and intimidation to lure away its few remaining allies. Thousands of Houthi supporters rallied in Yemen's capital, Sana'a. This was done to mark the 8th anniversary of the Saudi-led military intervention in Yemen's conflict. Yemen has been torn by violence since the Iran-aligned Houthi group ousted the government from Sana'a in 2014. Tens of thousands of people have been killed in the conflict. It took a grave toll on Yemen's economy and pushed millions into hunger. Sudan's army chief, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, has called upon troops to end support for authoritarian leaders. Burhan seized power during a coup in 2021. This derailed the democratic transition which took place after the ouster of former Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir in 2019. Burhan said that the latest coup had failed because it had not brought change, but rather the return of the old regime of Bashir's loyalists. US Vice President Kamala Harris is in Ghana. She's there on a 3-nation tour of Africa. The visit is part of a diplomatic push by the Biden administration to deepen ties with the continent. After Ghana, Harris will head to Dar es Salaam in Tanzania and Lusaka in Zambia. The diplomatic trip will conclude on April 2nd.
I'm very excited about the future.
Former US President Donald Trump held his first election rally in Texas. He accused the prosecutors investigating him of employing dark and conspiratorial language. He also said that investigations against him are straight out of the Stalinist Russia horror show. He added that prosecutors aim to fire up his base ahead of the Republican primary elections. The Central American country of El Salvador has marked 1 year under a state of emergency. This comes as the country's president continues his war on gang violence. Under the emergency, around 66,000 arrests have been made. Authorities are allowed to arrest people without warrants. Human rights groups have criticized this measure. IMF chief Kristalina Georgieva has joined others in voicing fears about a threat to world economy after recent bank collapses. Georgieva has warned that the global economy faces risks to its financial stability because of the turbulence in the banking sector. According to her, rising interest rates are putting pressure on debts, leading to stresses in leading economies. First Citizens Bank shares is in advanced talks to acquire Silicon Valley Bank. According to financial analysts, a deal could be reached as soon as next Sunday. First Citizens has around $109 billion in assets and total deposits of $89.4 billion. The US Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation had tried to sell SVB private alongside Silicon Valley Bank over the last 2 weeks. However, the regulator has failed to reach a deal to sell them both together. Hong Kong investors have forced HSBC into a shareholder vote on its structure and strategy. The vote will also include a potential spin-off of its Asian arm. Shareholders are claiming that the bank's Asian activities are effectively subsidizing the Western businesses to the detriment of HSBC's global shareholders. According to shareholders, the situation is undermining efforts to increase the bank's value and growth. Amazon has announced it's going to cut 9,000 more jobs across its global business. This is the second big cull of staff at the online retailer this year. The company said that the cuts would fall mostly in its cloud services, advertising, and Twitch live streaming units. The announcement comes 2 months after Amazon announced it had expanded staff-cutting plans to affect more than 18,000 workers. Canada's 23-year-old self-proclaimed crypto king, Aiden Pletersky, was kidnapped, held for 3 days and tortured. He was kidnapped after he reportedly scammed investors out of millions to fuel his glamorous lifestyle. He's currently undergoing bankruptcy proceedings. Canadian authorities are trying to recover the $29 million he's accused of having scammed. US House of Representatives Speaker Kevin McCarthy has said it will move forward with legislation to address national security worries about TickTock. McCarthy alleges that China's government had access to the short video app's user data. The announcement comes after TickTock CEO Shouzi Chu was grilled by a US House committee for about 5 hours last Thursday. TickTock now has 150 million daily users across America. Some parts of Twitter's source code have been leaked online. Source code is the fundamental computer code on which the social network runs. Twitter made the news public in a legal filing yesterday. Twitter has asked GitHub, an internet hosting service for software development, to take down the code where it was posted. Mark Zuckerberg has announced 2 new updates for WhatsApp groups. With the new updates, admins will get more control over their group privacy. The first new update will let group admins decide who can join the group. The second update will let users easily see groups they have in common with other users on their lists. These features will start rolling out globally over the coming weeks. Chinese search engine giant Baidu has cancelled a planned live-streamed product launch related to its ChatGPT-like Ernie bot. The company had advertised that the product was being open to the media and public. The webcast was scheduled for a live stream later this afternoon. The live stream was switched to a closed-door meeting with the first batch of companies that are testing the product. Nearly 8 million passport numbers have been stolen in a large-scale information theft from Australia's Latitude Holdings. The company had earlier announced that 7.9 million Australian and New Zealand driver license numbers were stolen on March 16th. At the time, apart from the driver's license numbers, about 53,000 passport numbers were also stolen. The thieves have also stolen a further 6.1 million records dating back to at least 2005. The US state of Georgia witnessed large hailstones and high winds. The hailstones were around 2.4 centimeters large. Authorities have issued flash flood warnings in the areas hit by the storm in Georgia and the neighboring state of Alabama. People in the state of Georgia are cleaning up after a tornado struck the state. The tornado destroyed buildings and uprooted trees. Authorities say that the tornado left a trail of destruction for 274 kilometers. Ahead of this, the US state of Mississippi witnessed a powerful storm. At least 25 people were killed. Forests in eastern Spain are witnessing devastation caused by wildfires that broke out last week. More than 500 firefighters, 20 planes and helicopters were deployed to battle the wildfires. This was the first major wildfire in Spain this year. It destroyed more than 4,000 hectares of forest. Over 1,700 people were forced to leave their homes. Parts of southern Europe have faced an unusually dry winter. This has escalated fears that there could be a repeat of last year's devastating wildfires. People in the German capital of Berlin voted on a proposal on the climate crisis. The proposal aims to force authorities to drastically ramp up Berlin's climate goals. The referendum calls for Berlin to become climate neutral by the year 2030. There's an existing law which sets a deadline for achieving climate goals by 2045. This is also Germany's target. The referendum requires the support of at least 25% of eligible voters. Lovlina Borgohain added a 4th gold to India's tally at the IBA Women's World Boxing Championship in New Delhi yesterday. This is Lovlina's first goal at the competition after settling for bronze in the 2018 and 2019 edition. Earlier, Nikhat Zareen won her bout to secure a gold medal. Mitu Ghangas and Saviti Bura have also won gold in the finals on Saturday. In cricket, all-rounders Ravindra Jadeja, Akshar Patel and Hardik Pandya have gained significantly in the latest BCCI annual player contracts. Jadeja has been moved to Grade A+ from Grade A. Pandya and Patel have been bumped up to Grade A from Grade B and Grade C respectively. There are 4 groups in the BCCI's contract list: A+ players on rupees 7 crore retainers, A players on 5 crores, B players on 3 crores and C players on 1 crore retainers. South Africa have produced the highest successful 2020 international run chase to defeat the West Indies. They chased down 259 runs against West Indies in the second T20 match in Centurion yesterday. The Proteas broke Bulgaria's record, where they scored 246 runs while chasing 242 runs against Serbia in 2020. Leading the South African innings was Quentin de Kock, who scored 100 runs of 44 deliveries. Tom Latham will captain an inexperienced New Zealand team in next month's home T20 series against Sri Lanka. Latham is also expected to lead the All Blacks against Pakistan later. The decision was taken as Kane Williamson and Tim Southee are playing in the Indian Premier League and are unavailable. New Zealand will be returning to the shortest cricket format for the first time in nearly 2 years. In football, English Premier League club Tottenham Hotspur have announced their parting ways with manager Antonio Conte. The announcement comes 8 days after the Italian's furious outburst. It followed a draw at Southampton in the Premier League when his side threw away a 2-goal lead. After the 3-all draw, Conte delivered a scathing verbal attack on his players, accusing them of being selfish. Kylian Mbappe's rise continues as France started their Euro 2024 qualifying campaign with a 4-0 win against the Netherlands. The forward is now looking to reach new heights as Les Bleus face Ireland away in Group B later tonight. Mbappe has scored 38 goals for France and sits in 5th place overall in the list of the country's top scorers. He's only 3 goals shy of former great Michel Platini and 15 goals behind all-time leader Olivier Giroud. Harry Kane underlined his status as England's greatest international goal scorer in a comfortable 2-0 win over Ukraine yesterday. Sunday's win puts Gareth Southgate's team in control of Euro 2024 qualifying Group C. Fresh from scoring his 54th goal in the 2-1 victory over Italy last Thursday, Kane made up for a couple of missed chances to break the stalemate in the 37th minute. Yesterday, Russian supporters turned up to watch their men's national football team play their first match on home soil since November 2021. The hosts defeated Iraq 2-0 in St. Petersburg. Russia was kicked out of international competitions because of Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. Russia's men have played 4 friendlies since the invasion, all away from home. Russia's women have not played at home since February 2022. Formula One drivers and teams are subject to a newly implemented bike ban. It means they cannot complete Thursday track walks on 2 wheels. During the recent Bahrain Grand Prix weekend, a letter was issued to the teams. According to the letter, bans will now be levied on racers who will ride bicycles to the track walks. World number 5 men's tennis player Daniil Medvedev is through to the 4th round of the Miami Open. He's reached the 4th round following the withdrawal of Alex Molcan from the scheduled 3rd round match later today. Medvedev had a bye in the first round and dismissed Roberto Carbelas Baena 6-1, 6-2 in his opening match. Molcan withdrew from the tournament with a right hip injury yesterday. K-pop singer Jimin's debut solo album Face breaks record release day records. Face sells over 1 million copies worldwide in 24 hours. The main track of the album, Like Crazy, topped iTunes Top Songs charts in 111 countries. Face ranks number 1 on iTunes Top Albums chart in 63 countries. Transgender actor Yasmin is YSL Beauty's first UK local ambassador. Pinay says that this partnership means hope. The 19-year-old joins the ranks of fellow YSL ambassadors Dua Lipa and Zoe Kravitz. The Heartstopper actor will feature in the brand's Drop the Look campaign. The campaign will release in April. Netflix has renewed thriller series You for its fifth and final season. Penn Badgley will reprise his role as the serial killer Joe. Netflix teased that Joe could finally face justice in the final season. Executive producer Sarah Gamble will step down from her role as the showrunner. Kumail Nanjiani has joined the cast of Ghostbusters Afterlife 2. The Pakistani-American actor joins actors Paul Rudd and Patton Oswalt. Nanjiani has said he can't believe he got to be a part of this world. The film is slated for a December 2023 release. Actor Millie Bobby Brown is set to make her writing debut. Brown has penned the novel 19 Steps based on her own family history. The 19-year-old says she was inspired by her grandmother who survived World War II. The book is published by William Morrow, an imprint of HarperCollins. The novel will release on September 12th. Kim Kardashian has registered 4 trademarks in her daughter North's name. 9-year-old North has 4 new business ideas trademarked. Her ventures include skincare products, cosmetics, fragrances, and toys. Kardashian had previously filed trademarks for her other 3 children. Jonathan Majors was arrested in an alleged domestic dispute case on Saturday. Majors is facing charges of strangulation, assault, and harassment. The police said the alleged victim, a 30-year-old woman, had minor injuries to her head and neck. Majors' lawyers say he's completely innocent. He was later released from custody. Late actor Ray Liotta's Facebook account has been hacked. Hackers have been posting death hoaxes about actor Bruce Willis. Links to fake news articles have also been posted from the account. Liotta's representatives are working with Facebook to resolve the issue. Liotta died aged 56 in his last May. Music composer Nicholas Lloyd Webber has died at the age of 43. His father, Andrew Lloyd Webber, announced the news in a video message. Webber died after an 18-month-long battle with gastric cancer. The Grammy-nominated composer was taken into hospice care on March 23rd. He died on March 25th in England. Author Bill Zem has died at the age of 65. Zem died in Chicago after a long battle with cancer. He was diagnosed with it over a decade ago. He was hospitalized in early March. Zem wrote the biographies of singer Frank Sinatra and comedian Andy Kaufman. He won the 2004 National Magazine Award.